My name is Nyari Mashayamombe. I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm a human rights activist, mainly focusing on girls and young women's issues. Um, I grew up in rural Zimbabwe, and that is pretty much where my passion for working for women is concerned. And I think that that's where my human rights activism started. And I think Nyarazo, by the way, means comfort because when when my mother was 6 months carrying me in a womb, my father died. So I never saw my dad. So comfort, Nyarazo means comfort. That's my full name. And that meant that when your father dies in rural Zimbabwe, when he was the breadwinner, it means that it transformed the lives of my family. It means that we led a very difficult life at a young age. But in that difficult life, because of finances and resources, I was raised by a strong woman. My mother was very strong, is very strong actually, because she's still here. She was strong in the sense that she made sure that we all went to school. Education a was not compromised. We would not negotiate. So whereas I was raised by a mother who was very strict about us going to school, I was surrounded by girls and young people whose parents were not strict like my mother. So for instance, I would go to school with a girl who was my neighbor, who sometimes would come to school and sometimes would not. And I felt like I started to question why she didn't come to school, because she would bring food to school and sometimes I didn't. So I think as an adult, I looked at why is it that I missed this girl so much. And I think at some point I had to be very honest with myself to say that it's because she would bring food every day and sometimes she would share with me. So that's number one reason I missed her. But I think growing fonder and maturing, I realized that I wanted her to also be part of the education that my mother didn't compromise. And I remember as a child asking this girl's mother to say, why does this girl doesn't come to school every day? And she laughed it off. And growing up, I then realized that the times she didn't come, she had been married off as a child. She went to one of the churches in Africa which marries children young. It's usually the apostolic sect. It only made sense when I'd grown up. But fast tracking to high school, I also saw that boys would take advantage of girls, and they would have multiple partners at the same school and embarrass girls. And I realized that when girls got into these relationships with boys, their whole world stopped. They started focusing pretty much just on this issue of relationship, and then it would mess up their whole future. And that in that moment I began to realize that there should be a program in my school that would focus on empowering girls, to help them to focus on education, to realize that the relationships that they have today are not important. They will not matter in the next 5 years, but it would have ruined their lives, because some of the girls got pregnant and they left school. Some of the girls got impregnated by teachers. So also I felt like that platform would also educate boys to respect girls. So fast track, I learned, um, ahead with my life, and then I passed my ordinary level, and my brothers and my siblings were discussing what course I should take. And I remember one of my siblings actually then said she can take a marketing degree. And then the same sibling is a brother of mine who said then that she can't do marketing because it would mean that she would travel a lot as a married woman. She can't do that. So why don't we give her a secretarial course? I was just coming from rural areas, by the way. So I was happy to grab any opportunity that was there for me. So I was signed up for a secretarial course, and I did take a secretarial diploma. And I worked in a power company, and I worked with engineers, and those men were showing off every time. They were like disrespectful of us secretaries, because I was a secretary then. And they were engineers. They thought they were too um too important. They were too intelligent for all of us. In that moment I realized that I didn't want to be a secretary. I wanted to be a boss. And the economy in Zimbabwe got so terrible, but I enrolled myself for a marketing degree with a South African university. And I remember I had to borrow from someone and pay back within 3 months for me to be able to afford that education to start a degree. But I carried forth with that degree. I spent about 5 years to do that degree. But to cut the long story short, I then attained that degree. But in that moment, I started also music because I discovered a musical talent. I started doing music. And I thought that when I make a lot of money in my music, I would then come back to my rural school or to my rural community and start empowering girls. But something in that moment said, wait a minute, you want to start making a lot of money, you wait until you make money, and what's happening to girls in that moment? So that is when I immediately realized that I needed to do something. I think that was my aha moment. So in that moment, I decided I needed to start an NGO. And then I started my NGO, and then it focuses on girls and it focuses on both girls, young women, and also it reaches out to boys because we identify boys as significant others, important in our work. And we also work with communities to address religious and cultural practices that affect girls. So to date, we've had programs in schools, we had programs in communities, but also I discovered that the work that I was doing were depending on donor funding. And donor funding means that sometimes you have resources, sometimes you don't. And for the last few years, we've been struggling because of the changes in our economy, in our environment. And I've had to kind of sponsor my own work. So I've had to realize that for Africa to be where we want it to be, I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to also make the money. So I am very excited to let you know that this April, I've got a TV show that's showing on the national TV. We only have one TV in Zimbabwe. So my TV show is a social, economic, and political platform where I'm saying that the voice that I have, the voice for development, we can make it into a TV program. So it's called Identities. It's also a build-up for my musical talents. So with this program, it's a business for me because I am looking for people to sponsor some programs to discuss the issues that they care about. And so I am looking at it as a business model. I'm also in the process of setting up a coaching and mentorship program to say the programs that we give our girls in the rural communities. I am trying to make sure that we commercialize those, and then I build an institute. So if you want to partner with me on my TV program, because I am looking for funding for that, if you think that there are partners that you know that can assist me, I'll be very happy to work with you to follow up. But I'm excited about this. I've already started. We've shot 5 episodes to be ready to take off in April. And I think where I am going as a woman is that as a leader, I think it's important as us as women leaders to have resources, to have money, because we are talking about having women in leadership, for instance. But we need money to do campaigns. We need money to run things. And people generally respect people that's got money.
Now,
Hi, so as I was saying that for me, what is very important is for us as women to tap into our feminine strength, to cause things to work to our advantage, to cause things to work in leadership, as well as to switch into business modes as well, to ensure that we are funded for the things that we care about, as well as to sponsor each other and to support each other. And I think I'm also excited about female wave of change, because I'm looking forward to partnering, to networking with women across the world, in sharing ideas, in sharing available resources, and exchanging. And I think one profound thing that we agreed with England is that I may be coming from Zimbabwe, from Africa, but we surely have things to share with each other. The resources will be different. Others will have money, others will have expertise, community, other things. But I feel like it's a great place for us to to tap into what we have as women and make things happen for each other. And I think I'm also excited about being at the Commission on the Status of Women, CSW, this coming year. So on Monday, so apparently I'll be in DC, New York, and I'll have a bit of a trip to San Francisco. But basically, I'm in the United States from the 7th to the 23rd. So the reason we decided to go pre-recorded with England is that I'm not sure at what point I'll be traveling back to Zimbabwe, and I wouldn't miss this opportunity for anything. So I just want to wish you sisters the best. Ingon, thank you very much for having us. It's always a pleasure to have international platforms where you meet sisters, and your commitment and dedication, Ingon, is amazing, because you were like, Nyari, let's do this. I don't want you to miss on this opportunity. And indeed, I didn't want to miss also. So I'm very excited about what we are starting as women, what a female wave of change is doing. And I want to believe that moving forward, in Zimbabwe, we're going to do great things that even our young women that I work with, for instance, I just wanted to share with you that I have a great platform that's coming up. I have, as an organization, we've got a campaign called Every Child in School, where we are advocating for the government to make sure that every child, especially at primary level, has access to education according to the Constitution. So that is a great campaign that I'm leading with many organizations in Zimbabwe. But as an organization as well, we are starting leadership hubs for girls and young women to come and learn about leadership, about financial literacy, about creating programs that assist them to continue networking, to learn about leadership, and also to get resources of internet and everything. So I'm setting that up. If you have expertise in setting up leadership hubs or resources for young women, totally get in touch on Facebook. But over and above this, I'm excited for us as leaders to tap into our own resources, to tap into our own expertise, and also to tap into what has been difficulties for us, that we make to become opportunities for ourselves to continue growing. Happy 24th, happy Female Wave of Change Global. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Ingun. Thank you, everyone. Stay blessed. Bye.